Welcome to Creatives and Conversations, where we explore the mind of the creative through constructive conversation. I'm your host, Tamara Loyd.
For creators and conversations, join us. For creators and conversations, join us.
Okay, let's get on with this show. I would like to introduce to some and present to others Mr. Donyea Goodman and Michael Loyd. Met these gentlemen years ago, and I'm so honored to be a part of their lives, and I really thank the Lord for them. And I will let them give you their bios or their testimony. So Donyea, take it away.
How you guys doing? I'm Donyea Goodman. I am a producer right now based in Orlando, Florida. Been producing now for 25 years or so. I'm a musician as well, a songwriter as well. Yeah, that's me in a nutshell.
You sure that's all? That's all you got to say?
I mean, I don't like talking about myself like that. No.
Oh well, just save it for the questions. You're gonna have to talk on today. All right, Mr. Michael Loyd.
Yes, my name is Michael Loyd, and I am a musician, composer, arranger, and producer. And I've been playing music literally all of my life, and it was at the behest, command of my mother that I started playing piano. The infamous story I have is one Sunday morning, after watching me tinkle on a house keyboard piano, she picks me up by my hand, takes me to the piano at the front of the church, sat me down and said, "Play," and walked off. And left me there to figure out how to play that service. I was 9 years old. I'm 56 now. So that was
many moons ago.
Many moons ago. I love music still as much as I did when I was little. I have produced. I have written. I love composing melodies. I am a producer, but I am in the Donyea Goodman School of Production right now.
We all are.
And so I'm having to relearn some of the things that I thought I knew. It is a challenge, but it is a joy. And so, I'm happy for the opportunity to work with two of the best. They challenge me daily, and I'm the better for it. Yeah.
All right, guys, that was great. Thank you so much. All right, let's get down to these questions. You guys ready?
Yeah.
All right. We'll start off with Michael on this one. As a creative, what is your main source of inspiration? Or who inspires you? You can answer it either way.
Well, honestly, again, and my brother Donyea, when I listen to his stuff, you do, Tamara, when I see the excellence of which you approach your vocal arranging work, the way you record, and particularly the way you edit, that painstaking process that you do yourself. Other than that, a lot of music I no longer listen to. We'll get to that later because it's no longer a challenge. But I'm a bebop guy. All the old bebop music, your Charlie Parkers, Dizzy Gillespie's, Oscar Peterson, from that era. Early gospel I like. Your Hawkins, your Whitfield, your Crouches, of course the Tommies from Chicago, music that was actually written and not copied. And when I mean copied,
Yes.
I mean copied style. Everything sounds the same. A lot of jazz artists. George Duke. My older brother, Gerald Loyd. I must not forget him. Who, in the midst of our very astringent, strict Pentecostal household, he snuck a piece of advice in my ear and said, Mike, you need to study jazz. I never told my mom and dad he told me that, but I did. Those are the main inspirations.
Okay, Donyea, same question. As a creative, what is your main source of inspiration, or who inspires you?
Well, as Michael said, I was raised on the classics, and more so the classics of contemporary gospel. Right around the time Andre Crouch, it was the Andre Crouches and the Hawkins. My guy was Thomas Whitfield, and that's who inspired me on the gospel tip. Thomas Whitfield, and then Douglas Miller, Timothy Wright, and then Indiana Mass Choir.
Yeah.
All of those guys. And then I branched out, messed around, and found out who Quincy Jones was.
Yeah.
Right.
And then from Quincy Jones, I graduated to George Clinton and James Brown and all those guys. And my direct influences are mainly Thomas Whitfield, Quincy Jones, John Tesh, John Williams.
Yeah, John Tesh, yeah.
George Duke, and Hans Zimmer.
That's a fat inspiration list. The big one. Yeah, that's movie stuff. Now I know why your records are so big.
I think what made me dive into that was when I saw The Wiz as a kid.
Yeah.
Wow.
I saw The Wiz as a kid before I even saw the original Wizard of Oz. I saw The Wiz. So The Wiz held a place with me that the Wizard of Oz couldn't touch because I had already saw The Wiz first. But then the crazy part about it is I was watching The Wiz and I'm listening to this music and I'm going, it's too much funk happening up in this music for this to be.
It was quite funky.
I mean, I was just like, wow. I mean, he's telling this story in such a funky manner. And it made me dive into like storytelling with music. Well, in order for me to keep that up, I had to listen to other storytellers, and that's where John Williams and John Tesh and all these other guys come in, where they were doing all these TV shows and doing the TV shows and the movies. I think that it was that, and then the direct sound. The guy who inspired me, who made me turn that corner, musically, oh man, this could be so many things. Stu Gardner.
Where do I know that name from?
Stu Gardner is responsible for all the music you hear on the Cosby Show.
That's what I thought. Okay.
Yeah.
Them segues was dope. Yeah.
Stu Gardner, Grover Washington, and Bill Cosby on drums.
Mm-hmm.
So that sound, man, it's every person has a defining sound that they hear that launches them into the creative space. Mm-hmm. Like there's every creative, there's something that triggers, in martial arts they say that there's something that triggers your chi.
Yeah.
That turns your focus into what it needs to be for you to succeed. And for me, it was Stu Gardner. And once I heard that, it was like the world was my oyster musically.
Wow.
And I just began to explore.
Well, since we're on that subject, what do you guys, and I can't remember his name, but you'll know who I'm talking about. What do you guys think about Spike Lee's father?
Bill Lee.
Okay, thank you. Because I couldn't remember his name.
Yeah. Bill, for me, was the quintessential composer. The stuff he did in Spike's movies, his melodies were always so arresting. The one for me was Spike's first movie, She's Gotta Have It. Oh my God. Because Bill played bass and piano. I would watch that movie over and over again just for the soundtrack. just for the soundtrack. Bill Lee.
The horn arrangement.
Yeah. I mean, he way he mastered that melody. His stuff was composed. I mean, every note went where it went on purpose. And the one thing that captivated me was at the end of She's Gotta Have It, Bill Lee was standing up on acoustic bass, just killing. This is when they were doing the introductions of who the cast was. That old man was on stand-up acoustic bass, just killing, playing the most beautiful piece of music, and stopped and just said, Bill Lee. And I was done.
Wow.
I was done.
That's a master musician.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. All right, so next question, fellas. Since you're both excellent musicians, obviously, what do you sense is missing from the music industry today? Donyea, we can start with you on that one. Let me clear my throat.
Here we go.
The main two things that I feel are missing from the music industry today is authenticity and ingenuity.
Okay.
Authenticity and ingenuity. It's almost a conspiracy to a degree when you look at how the industry has taken a turn, and it's almost as if it got up to a certain point and then it took this turn to where anyone else that had an original expression of music and a genuine sound for themselves were not allowed in because the people that were on top at the time were doing all the manipulating and making these contracts so that they stayed on top. So you can't come in here with no new music. I mean, you think about it now. I mean, all of us have dealt with major record labels, and they always say the same thing. We want something hot and fresh and new and this and that. Then we give them that, and they go, no, that's not it. We want something like this. And then they play something that was on the radio last week.
Yeah, that part.
So it's just like, this is not, there's a lot of originality and authenticity and ingenuity missing. There's a lot of people, these are kids out here, some of them are kids out here they really ain't got nothing to say. They just don't want to do nothing else.
Yeah.
But also on the flip side, if you dig a little bit deeper, you find those that are being true to their expression and their interpretation of music. And they are getting recognized and getting awards and such for it. But they're just not getting the publicity, because, redemptive music is a rarity now.
Wow. Did you say redemptive music? I'm sorry, Don.
Redemptive music.
Please
music
explain.
That is positive and uplifting, that shares a message.
Wow.
But the party music and the ratchet music and the treat women like they trash music and treat each other like we trash music, all of that gets all the radio play. You hear it on everything, and the redemptive music gets a back seat. You can find it, but for some reason you don't find it around us. You don't find it on our radio stations.
That's true.
So I think what's missing is authenticity and ingenuity, not even from an artist standpoint, but even from a music administrative standpoint, from a radio announcer standpoint, from a radio programming standpoint, from an A&R standpoint. There's no ingenuity anymore. It's all about who can sell and make the most dollars, because that's the music we want. Well, the problem with that is then everybody starts to pattern themselves after whoever it is you put on top, and before you know it, everything sounds the same.
So, I mean, since you said that, what do you think the intent and motive is behind the way these A&R and record labels are putting this type of music out? Why do you think that is?
Um, it goes deep. It goes very deep. I was telling somebody today that I was noticing how social media and world and news media and Hollywood media, it's almost like with each generation, they release things and they put out these influential content that causes each generation to become more and more ignorant to the truth.
Agreed.
More and more ignorant to the truth, more and more ignorant, more and more likely to be influenced and controlled by the news and by the media. The further and further down the line we get, it's like the younger they get, the less they're able to critically think for themselves and make a decision based on what's best for them instead of what the internet says. You look at it, that's why we've had to have certain things, we've had to come out with certain things, Black Girls Rock and all that kind of stuff, because Hollywood says Black girls don't rock unless they got a straight weave in their hair and kind of light skin.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And they got to be skinny and so Black girls rock as long as they look like white girls. But as soon as we start having our own voice, you start seeing less and less publicity, less and less camera time, less and less. So it's like it feels like an agenda. It definitely feels like, okay, let's put out. There's a guy who's running his entire campaign about radio play and about negative music on the radio, and how radio stations, they have a problem with you writing a song about rape. They have a problem with you writing a song about killing animals. They have a problem with playing songs, or they have a problem with playing those things. But you hand them an album full of gang banging where we killing each other, and that's the first thing they put on.
I think I saw a video on that. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, that's the first thing they play. Oh, because there's money to be made.
Right.
Really.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and it's funny because there are a lot of rappers out now that they may have positive messages. They may have very intelligent content. They may have, a lot of influential songs that are positive, but the radio's not playing that one. The radio is playing the one where he's slapping a woman around and, making her do unseen things and whatnot, or they rolling up on these gangs and killing. Those are the songs that are getting played. And you cannot, as an adult Black male, I cannot listen to that and not ask the question, how come that's the only thing I'm hearing?
Mm-hmm.
But when you want to hear somebody sing about, I love you just the way you are, and you won't hear all these positive messages. You don't hear, they're not playing our stuff.
Yeah. My daughter and I, we were having that conversation today, talking about the difference between, 70s music, 80s music, 90s. And we start, I was telling her where I saw the decline. And that was like the end of the 90s, beginning of 2000s, when I started seeing people weren't making classics anymore. Or some people weren't. And we started talking about hip hop. And she was saying she'd rather listen to hip hop than some R&B music. And she's talking about today's music. And then I said, but they're not making classics. She said, yeah, because they're not interested in making a song that's saying anything. They're just in it for the money. And I'm like, if an 18-year-older can come up with that, something's definitely wrong. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So, Michael, I'd like for you to answer that question as well, and your perspective on it.
Yeah. And then I'm going to ask Don a question about your answer when I'm done, because you got me thinking, if that's okay.
Just take over the show. It's
No,
okay. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. This is your show now.
No, it's yours.
No, I'm kidding.
The thing for me, man, And I'm not trying to throw any shade at anything or anybody, but just answering your question. Again, I'm 56 years old. I've been playing music all of my life. And so I kind of think I know what my ears are hearing. The difficulty for me goes back to what Don said about there's just no originality, ingenuity, none of that. And I'm not going to go into specifics. I'll just put it this way. Sometimes I get frustrated learning the music because I can't tell the difference between one song or the next. And when you're handing 3 or 4 songs and all of them go the same way, my ears shut off because there's
So
no
you're mainly
challenge.
talking about gospel music, right?
Well,
Yeah.
well,
I
okay.
get it. I get it.
I wasn't going to say it, but since you put it out there, again, and we play this stuff. That's what pays the bills. Hopefully, you are in a band situation, and Don, I'm sure you can bear witness to this. Hopefully, you are in a band situation that's creative enough, but yet still respected of the feel of the song enough, to where the song kind of you add what makes you to it. Again, over time, people go, can you play like the record? And I like, okay, I want this check, so I'll say yeah. But otherwise, I'm like, well, you should have got the guys from the record. You know what I'm saying? I mean, because again, it lacks so much. Go back to what you said. Thomas Whitfield had a style, but he didn't copy himself.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny, I don't mind going on record saying this. Sometimes when I make a track, and there's some chord changes that are so much in the back of my head, and I'll play it for the boss over here, and she'll go, that sounds like such and such. I go, dang it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So, I got to be careful not to copy myself. But they're just some of the greats, they never copy themselves. Now, there's standard chord changes that go in music. You can't get around 2-5-1 or what's that, 7-3-6 and things of that nature.
Mm-hmm.
But it's really a matter of writing music, number one, that's memorable, and number two, that's meaningful.
Mm-hmm.
Which is why I go back to what I said about Bill Lee. His music would sock me. And Don, I ain't trying to blow no smoke. When I hear a piece of your music, I know it's you.
Mm-hmm.
And I can duplicate it to a degree because there are certain producers out here that just make me go, that's a piece of music. And let me go on record for those of you listening to this. Donyea makes records.
Not just tracks.
And I'm glad you said that.
Not just tracks.
There's a difference between making tracks and making records.
Or making a beat maker.
Or a beat maker. Donyea Goodman makes records. I want everybody who's going to hear this to understand right now. He makes records. There's stuff I have written, and we wrote as a group. I swore it was hot when I wrote it. Until I sent it to him, and he put his stuff on it. Then I said, okay, now it's a record. It was a track before, but now it's a record. And so the ability to hear inside of a piece of music, you don't hear that too much. Everything is surface. You know it's coming. Oh God, it drives me crazy. Everybody's using the same patches. Everybody's using the same stacks. You know it's going to be the Yamaha or Loyd, and it's going to have the strings on top of it. I hate it. Can I just get a straight piano somewhere, please? Anyway.
So basically what you all are saying to me, there's not enough originality in music today. And I kind of wonder why that is. Is it just because people just want the quick money, or they're just not creative enough to do it?
They want to be part of the trend. That's why I love bebop so much. They broke all the rules.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I love early R&B. They broke all the rules. Hurry up this way again. Those guys, like the stylistics, oh my God, this stuff was brilliantly arranged. Mm-hmm. But the more as music went forward, and Don, the question I have for you is, does that pertain to a particular genre, or is that just music in general? But but the thing is, it's just them old Crouch records when he had like Greg Fillinganes.
That's somebody who broke the rules.
And Greg Fillinganes and Rhett Lawrence and all he had. What's my other name? Joe Sample playing on his sessions.
Yeah.
This is a music that grabbed you and held you because each record was different from the last.
So what was the question you asked him?
So your answer, Don, my thought and my question was thank you. Is that based on any particular genre that you can think of? Maybe it's like if I asked
it used to be.
Okay.
It used to be, but since I've delved into other genres, I'm noticing it's the same pattern.
Wow.
It's the same exact pattern. You think about it, the top 40s pop songs are all 6, 4, 1, 5. It's not. You don't hear either that or it's the trap, some kind of trap something.
Absolutely.
And I've never been so sick of an 808.
You say that now, and I just picked up the 808 on SoundCloud.
I never. And see, a lot of people, and the younger guys, they act like, no, see, that's just, somebody told me a while back, like, your sound is out of date. You need to get you some 808s and your stuff's out of date. And I'm thinking to myself, you have zero idea how far back the 808 goes.
Right.
That part.
You know what I mean? Like, you weren't even thought of when they came out with the 808. So
it wasn't even a twinkle in your dad's eye.
Right.
We've been doing trap music. It just was not.
It was a different hi-hat pattern.
It was that. Yes, it was a different hi-hat pattern, and it was not in halftime.
Yeah.
See, today it's in halftime. Back then, when we did hip hop with the 808s and stuff, it was in regular 4/4 time.
Right.
And most of it was around 100 to 120 beats a minute.
And that was the slow stuff.
And so it was, think about it. Baby Got Back, 808, rolling 808.
Yep.
Sir Mix-a-Lot, everything was just on the up tempo like that. And then and then things slowly progressed into they start sampling the James Brown beats over everything, and then that's when New Jack Swing made its arrival. But there's always that person who takes a chance on doing something or being something different, and it flies. Well, it almost seems as if the Hollywood gatekeepers of the world have made sure that those people stay out, and mainly because there's been so much contractual bloodshed in the industry. That and now people have been allowed to tell their stories, that now anybody coming in already knows what to ask for. Because they've already heard the nightmares so it's like, no, we got to keep them out because we can no longer take advantage of these guys. You can't get ghost writers and ghost producers no more. It's like, yeah, I'll ghost write. Give me 50% publishing. You ain't finna let that happen. So guess what? No ghost writing for you. You got to come up with this yourself. So now the thing is let's get these YouTube people, these guys selling their beats for $20 and $30 on YouTube, and contract them. They're selling their beats for $30. Yep. So we pay them $400 a week. They'll think they came up.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas we know what your song should cost. We know what your song should pay. So I mean, it's not just gospel. I think it's everywhere. I think the difference in gospel and everywhere else is that at least outside of gospel, you know what you're gonna get. With gospel, getting done dirty is always a surprise because you don't expect people who proclaim a faith such as Christianity in gospel would live in such an opposite, unethical way that they would do the exact opposite of what it stands for. But we're living in that time now,
Wow.
Well, since we're going down this path, I might as well take this shift, this turn right here. You brought up gatekeepers, and I must bring up this very controversial situation to expound on what you were saying. So I don't know if you've heard of. I'm sure I know Michael has, but Jaguar Wright is cutting heads all over the place, and her mission is to get rid of the gatekeepers, and to give the music back to the artists and the producers. And so I don't agree with everything she says, but I understand her mission. And so, with that being said, what do you all think it will take for us to get back to the classics, for us to make timeless music? I know the mission of my record label, shameless plug, T-Vox Sound Records. My mission is to exactly what she's doing, trying to get the music back to the artist, back to the songwriter, and not rape them for their and steal their creativity. So, what do you think? What do you all think it will take for us to get back to that?
You know, I anticipated this question, so I kind of was been formulating an answer for the
You
last
don't know
month.
me.
I
You don't know
I-
me.
No, but for real, I mean, because the deal is for me, with the records that we've done, it's always been a matter of having the type of financial leverage that you can put yourself in the same market as the majors. Okay, having the kind of budgets that it would take. It's not that your music is better; you just got a bigger budget. You know what I mean? I mean, the stuff that we do. You know, I tell everybody this is some of the, and shame to plug for mine third. This is some of the as an artist and producers. It's some of the best music I've ever made. But you know, again, you know, thankfully with iTunes and CD Baby and symphonic distribution and all the other digital distribution houses, you have the ability to reach as wide of an audience as the majors. But in terms of the dollar that will place your music, if not at the very front of the line, at least at the upper third of the line. You know, that's the challenge for me right now. You know, is there's some music out there just as good? Absolutely. And now again, with the way marketing music is going, it's just a matter of getting, you know, creating content, you know, and then do it consistently enough and attracting a wide enough audience that will place you right where the bigs are without having to go through all the foolishness.
Okay, Donyea, your perspective on that?
I think we're already headed in that direction. The pandemic did a lot of damaging things, but some things that it did damage needed to be damaged. The playing field needed to be leveled. And every major producer that I know of has called me and said, man, now is the time. Playing field is level. There's nobody out there to tell you what to play, what to do. Now, you know, because the entire world shut down, the need for escapism, the need for entertainment skyrocketed. So now, we don't care if you're not doing what's hot on the radio. Give us something.
Wow.
And so there are I'm noticing a lot more talented people being seen online. People coming out to woodwork and playing the songs they want to play. Writing the songs they want to write and record. But I think that the key to great music being returning and authentic music and versatile music and various music coming back on the scene as strong as the older days. We got to get more musicians behind the desk.
Wow.
We got to get more producers in the big chairs. What's happening the pen and pencil pushers don't know music.
Right. They never did.
They know numbers.
Yeah.
True.
So if we get the musicians and the producers behind the desk, then the music will be judged solely on its content and its quality in and of itself, not whether how popular it already is or not.
Right.
But that's going to take a level of discipline for a producer or a songwriter or whoever needs to be in that chair, because some that I've worked with, they don't want to learn that stuff. They don't want to understand the music industry. They just want to produce. They just want to write. But
The issue with that is that's the hard part of being a creative. I live that every day. I live that heartache every day. I'm sitting on a gospel album that I have yet to finish, that I started writing in 2008. That I and so I could say, okay, well, I just want to do this. The problem is, I could do that. But then after that, what do I do with what I just did?
yeah.
You know what I mean? So, I'd rather take the time, learn, develop a plan, and figure out how to get myself out there the way it needs to be. I also agree with the disciplinary situation, because there are times when I go sit at my desk and I don't track a single thing. I don't track, I don't do nothing musical. I'm sitting there learning contractual terminology.
Wow.
I'm file managing.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm looking up distribution websites and publishing websites on how to collect royalties. I'm looking at, investments. Who's investing right now? Who's shelling out money? Who's selling property for cheap? Who's selling land for cheap? Who's looking for projects? Who's looking for artist management? And then sometimes I'm just sitting down, going through all of the software that I have and learning it, not tracking in it, just literally learning the software that I have on my computer.
Are you watching videos? Are you watching videos for that, or are you actually just tinkling?
No, I'm doing both. The problem with YouTube is that Neil deGrasse said this. The problem with the internet is that it's so oversaturated with confirmation bias.
Wow.
That you cannot use the internet to substantiate the way you feel or don't feel right away. Because it's the information you look up is already biased most of the time.
Yeah. So
a lot of times you have to do some more digging into the answer for you to know this is the direction you need to go. I think that it's discipline. Like, there's a day where it's like, I'm just doing tech stuff today. So I'm going through my plugins. I'm learning all the sounds that I got. Then I'm doing this, and I'm setting up tracks and saving presets and doing all this stuff. So when it is time for me to track, I already have everything set up.
Right.
Number one is the piano. Number two is the bass, this and that. I'm setting up templates where I don't have to have him change nothing or anybody else come in and change anything. I'm just setting it up so that when my session is ready, my presets are there and I just put them up and just go. But that takes a regimented discipline, which is even hard for me, because there are days as creative, you don't get to decide whether you're going to be creative that day or not. If the joint hits you and you hear a joint in your head, you got to track it. You can't sit and
figure stuff out.
I'm gonna do this tomorrow. Like, no, man, tomorrow it's not gonna sound the same in your head as it does right now. So that is the area where it's like, man, we struggle in, because it's like, man, I get sometimes where Mike is in that it's like, I just want a space where all I'm doing is documenting everything my brain comes up with. and then we can sift through it later and figure out what it needs to be. You know, but the key to being a producer is that you have to get it to a point where it's already what it needs to be before you shut it down.
Wow.
You know, because I also learned to get songs placed, people don't want to hear, oh, this is a scratch. I was doing this. I got this idea. They don't want to hear that. They want to hear the song like it's already on the radio.
Yeah.
Okay, hold on. Let me address that real quick now. In my experience, and I'm just telling you what I've been through, and let me put this out there to see your spin on it, Don. You know, well, we're gonna have our guys produce it. We just want it raw. You know what I'm saying? It's like when you write the song, you get all the parts in your head. You got this beautiful mesh of a production. You know where everything goes. You can hear all the string arrangements, horn arrangements, drum arrangements, whatever. You know what I'm saying? And then when you submit it, they might send it back like, no, we don't need all that. Just send me the piano and the vocal. What?
Yeah.
Well, you know, so how do you deal with that?
Well,
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I just want to say, let them tell you that. But if you send it to where it's almost perfection, they might want to use it. They might even pay you more for it. You know what I'm saying?
This is true.
So you want to send the best presentation that you can. If they want to put other people on it, that's fine. But they'll remember you because
what I was going to say, Mike, is what I've learned is I don't care whether you take what I give you. I'm going to give you the ultimate smash.
Exactly.
I'm going to give you the smash.
Exactly.
Wow.
Because the goal I'm trying to reach is not for you to accept what I give you. The goal is for you to call me back.
They're going to remember you. That's what I was saying.
So, if I can get you to call me back, I'm in. I'm already in.
Wow.
Because that means that whatever else you call me for, you already have a job for. You already placing me. Even if it's just for a piano part, or we just need this, we just need that. Yeah, that's fine. But take this whole thing, because there's going to come a time where they're going to need the whole thing.
Wow.
And as long as they know a guy who can do it, you've already put your submissions on the table. I just went through that last year, working for Disney and other guys, where they were like, "Hey man, can you track this out?" And they didn't know I was going to give them the whole shebang. They thought I was just going to give them a couple of doodads, and then they go out and hire all these other musicians. So I sent them the whole thing, and they were like, "Who did the horns?"
Yeah.
Well, I did. Oh man, we were going to hire some guys to do that. You know. Well, who did the strings? Yeah, I did those. Oh well, man, we might as well keep those. You know what I mean? So it's one of those situations. And then there was some stuff they would hit me back and go, I'm not in love with it. Take all of that out and just give me this. And I've learned that this whole thing is about the return call. This is not about whether you take my stuff and like the real industry, the real deal guys in the industry. I'm not talking about no shade, but I ain't talking about the Puff Daddies of the world and all of that. I'll say it to his face. He don't know music, but
wow.
Yeah, Jaguar said that too. So
no, he don't know music. So the real guys, the real composers, the real deal guys, they want somebody who can work with them easily. They want somebody that they can say, "Hey, take this out, take that out,"
and won't have an attitude about it.
They won't have a problem with it. Yeah. You know, I just had a Disney guy not too long ago. It's like, man, dude, I love working with you. You give me this stuff on time, and you don't have a problem with taking notes and changing stuff. You know, and those are the people that get in the door. Those are the people that the door is open for. Is that, oh, okay, you don't like it? Okay, well, what do you need? Well, you don't like that either? Okay, let's do something else. Once they see that you're willing to work with that, it's easier for them to find a place for you on bigger projects because they know now that they can trust you with their information and you're going to do something with it.
Right.
You know, so it's hard as it is to be like, man, I done did all this work and I've done plenty of that. But, you know, once you get to a certain point working for bigger corporations, they will tell you out of their mouth, don't do no string parts because we're not going to pay you for them.
Right.
Don't do this and this because we cannot commission you on how to do. That's the other thing, Mike. I don't think you knew is that the reason why you go through that is because a lot of companies cannot tell you how to do something if they don't pay you up front. That's in their bylaws.
Wow.
So they can't tell you what to do. They can only ask you for ideas or ask you for a certain submission, but they can't tell you how to do it because they have to have a check in their hand to tell you how to do it.
Gotcha.
Okay.
T-Vox Sound Records is an independent multi-genre record label. Founded in 2017 by the label's CEO, Tamara D. Loyd, who is also a hit songwriter and vocal producer in her own right. Aside from promoting indie artists, we also offer quality background vocal arrangements and music production at affordable prices. T-Vox Sound Records is climbing steadily. To hear the top singles by our artist, visit our website at www.tvoxsoundrecords.com. T-Vox Sound Records, we create the sound.
T-Vox Sound.
All right. So my fun question is, what would you tell your 20-year-old self, and how would it have changed the trajectory of your life?
Geez.
Yeah, I skipped over number 3.
That's fine.
I need to get to number 4.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Wow. That's a loaded question.
Did you hear the question, Donyea?
Yes, I did.
Okay. All right.
Sir,
I want Mike to go first.
Oh, you want me to go first? Okay. What I would tell my 20-year-old self, I got to say this as respectfully as I can based on who may be listening to this. I would tell my 20-year-old self, follow your heart, go to school, study music, and chase it like you are the only one alive who can tell you what to do. And don't let anybody talk you out of this, because this is what you've been wanting since you were a child. I'll never forget the first time. Remember when Hawkins with the Oakland Symphony Orchestra record was out and it was hot? Well, I'll never forget one day I was watching PBS Channel 13 when they were showing real music shows, when they had the video portion of that, and the overture was Oh Happy Day, and I saw this black guy. I'm sorry, I should say African American. Please forgive me.
Yes.
I
don't care.
Right. He was the orchestra conductor. And so it's like you had this big orchestra playing with the Hawkins rhythm section. So you had like Joel on bass, Edwin on piano, and the rest of the guys were playing for them. And I said at that moment then, I said, that's what I want to do. That right there is what I wanted to do. I got hit with the bug. And so what I would tell my 20-year-old self is that show you saw as a child that's been feeding you ever since, don't let anybody take it, no matter who it is.
How do you think that would have changed your life? Well, how would your life have been different now?
Simple. I would have been somebody's symphony conductor somewhere. Now that I'm here, I would have been, Atlanta would have had a new symphony conductor. Me. And that's the deal. I would have had a greater understanding of music. I would have had a greater understanding of how things are supposed to go and not fumble through it and try to figure it out. I mean, it's okay, that's the fun part. But if I had to follow that and really learn to read proficiently, learn theory proficiently, based on, coupled with my own natural talent that I had, I would have been unstoppable. I believe that with all my heart. And that's not an arrogant statement. That is the kind of drive that I had as a kid. 9 years old, playing 4 and 5 instruments in the house not at one time, but I had musical instruments all in my room and could play all of them.
Okay. What about you, sir?
Well,
you tuning up? We need to get the E flat going. And
I would tell myself 2 things, and everyone can identify with this. I would say, do not place your dreams in anyone else's hands.
There it is.
Do not invest unnecessary time, talent, and treasure into a corporation, and a company, institution,
Yeah, all that.
or church
Yep, straight though.
that is only looking out for itself. I would have told myself to leave gospel right then and there.
Right
Don't
then.
even think about it.
Right
Go
then.
do some R&B. Go find you a rapper. Get you some hip hop.
Some jazz, bro.
Do something else.
Yep.
I sold out to the idea of being the next Kevin Bond or being the next Aaron Lindsay, or I was so sold out to that idea that I did not see that I had much more in me than just what I heard at the time from Kevin Bond and Asaph and all of them guys.
And I want to scream amen real loud.
And those guys are great.
Yes,
Those guys are very phenomenal, and even they have stretched out. But I was only exposed to the gospel side at the time. And I was so caught up in the hype of where I was that I did not see that there was so much further to go. And I should have taken advantage of what I had in my hand at the time. But I was young. And then I tell myself, just don't be chasing girls all like for the whole week.
Let's just be real, huh?
Yeah, I mean, because I was easily distracted at 20. I was easily distracted, coming from living a sheltered life, couldn't go nowhere, couldn't do nothing, couldn't go to the movies. So when I got out, I got all the way out.
All the way out.
But yeah, I would tell myself, stretch now. Take a chance. Go to LA, just see. You're a young 20-year-old, you can sit down and play anything, just go see.
Yeah, I would. How many tours have I? Hey, let me ask you this: did you turn down any major tours?
Oh yeah.
Okay, all right. So now we're equal. Yeah.
Yeah, we won't bring up that.
Okay.
Yeah,
Because I kicked Michael myself for that one.
Yeah.
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 That's before and after I toured, I turned it down. Once I realized what was in it, I said, oh, okay, this is, because with touring, what they don't tell you is, once you do this, you have to keep doing this. When I had the chance to go back out on the road with Blackstreet and all them guys, and I said no. I really don't know why I said no, because I needed the money at the time. But I was like, no, I'm not going to do that. I want to make records. I want to this. So, man, I'm not going to do it. They said, all right, man, we wish you could. I was like, nah, man, I'm cool. And then the pandemic hits.
Well, there it is. There it is. Yeah.
So, people that had budgeted for that entire tour had nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
because
so,
you mentioned that tour to me, and I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Goes back to what you said to your 20-year-old self. I allowed that institution to just rob me of the greatest part of a musical experience. I actually get called for tours all the time.
Yeah. Well, because at the time, man, we just believed. We believed that we could make it where we were. We could make where we were what it needed to be.
Yeah.
We believed. Like, I believed in my hometown so much. Before I knew it, I didn't have nothing and I didn't have nobody.
Wow. Wow.
Standing there believing in the whole, like, I knew I had to ask myself some questions when I would find myself showing up to church, getting off the bus with basketball shorts and a jersey and some tennis shoes and an overnight bag with some toothpaste in it because I had slept on the street the night before.
What?
Or I had to sleep at somebody's house the night before I ain't have money to do this and do that, and I'm showing up to church and nobody asking any questions. Just as long as I'm playing, it's fine, you know. And so that's when I said, okay, this is, you know, they will suck you dry if they can, man. I mean, some of them.
Yeah.
But that's the other good part about this pandemic is that it is bringing all of that to light, and now no one has any time for it anymore. You know, no one has any time to waste. We're losing loved ones by the thousands.
Yeah.
You know, we ain't got time to be playing with you the 80 services for 50 cents. We don't got time for that.
Or some chicken in a lantern.
Yeah. I'll fry my own chicken.
True story.
Who's that lantern?
I don't know. True story.
You know.
Yeah.
So that segues into my next question. What role does your spirituality play in your creativity? Considering, you know, I'm hearing some I don't know if you guys are disillusioned with the church, and we're not bashing the church, you know, but there are some things that are out of order, and that'll be another show. I promise you that.
That's a whole nother thing.
Yeah.
My thing was, I quit. I had quit. Mike, you remember?
Mm-hmm.
I quit, and I in my mind, I cussed the church out. I left, and then when I got here, things began to point back to church after I had been gone for almost 2 years.
Absolutely.
And I was like, I ain't doing that. I'm not doing that. And God literally convicted me and said, your problems are valid. Your issues with the church are valid. Who's going to tell them what their problem is if you ain't going? How are you going to help be a part of the solution?
Wow.
If you're not around? You know.
Yeah, I got Facebook for that. Cause
So
I ain't having it.
that's when I had to be like, okay, all right. And I started doing it, and all of the problems that I had, whether it was the fluff or the narcissism, anything that I had to deal with before, I have yet to have seen it since I've been here.
Yep.
That's awesome. I think you both have that same.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
yeah, I have yet to see it. And maybe my thing is, maybe it's because my perspective is a lot more mature than it used to be. And it could still be there, but because my heart and my perspective is in a different place, it's not affecting me the way it used to.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because I'm going in, I know what it is.
Yeah.
I know what it is. So, you know, I'm gonna let you do you and be you, however you feel that is, you know, but that cannot shake me. I cannot stop being a nice, loving, kind, compassionate musician and minister of music, and I can't stop being that because someone else decides they want to be a jerkhole. I cannot allow them to dictate the quality of my character based on their misbehavior.
Wow.
You know?
Yeah.
And that's when I found the essence of being what a believer is. You know what I mean? And so I learned to just love people, forgive people. I call back to my old church, you know, that hurt me before, and I apologized to them. And I went back, and the same churches that was talking about me, he ain't gonna never be on time, he ain't gonna never do nothing. They didn't have nobody that helped them with their music, and I helped them. But we can't pay you. That's fine. He said that's fine. Is something wrong? He don't never say that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so once my perspective changed, then I know. Then it's like, okay, this is the essence of in whom my faith is placed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so no, I haven't dealt with any of that since I acquiesced to the call of God to be back in the church and minister and because the thing that we cannot get away from, some guys can get away from it where they just don't play in church. Mm-hmm. I can't get away with it.
That's why you're my man.
I can't get away with it. Like, I can't go into any church and know they need music and sit
Don't
there.
do it.
I can't do it.
Say it, sir.
I can't do it. And so, now they bring up a job situation, then we're going to have to talk and negotiate and do all the other stuff.
Right.
But my heart does not allow me to sit there and let a congregation suffer musically in the moment. You know what I mean? When I know what God gave me to offer can help enhance. Now, whether they want to say that ain't it and discount it, that's up to them. But I have to do that. In order for my career outside of gospel and outside of church to be successful, I have to contribute it in church.
Yeah.
Yep. So I can't not do both. I gotta do both. I can't just do, because God never gives big gifts for small stages.
Wow.
Everything he gives you, there's a stage for that. There's a need.
Yep.
Somebody needs what you have.
Yep.
And so the bigger the gift, the bigger this platform, the longer the reach. But a lot of us don't realize it because we're afraid to get uncomfortable. We're afraid to discipline ourselves and do what it takes to get to that space.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So it's like you cannot pass this level until you beat the boss of this level. It's like a video game. You can't get to the next level. You got to beat the boss.
There it is.
And so it's like, your gift is made for huge stages. But if you can't be loyal and effective and sincere and genuine in the storefront, you ain't getting you're not getting on the big stage.
Yes, sir.
So that's been my specific walk.
Yeah. So in that, how do you deal with, and I used to struggle with this, how do you deal with being a Christian and doing secular music, jazz or whatever? And I know some people have that. I still run into people that have that issue. I was dealing with a songwriter a couple of weeks ago, and she was just like, no, I can't do that kind of music. And I'm like, as long as it's nothing, too sexual, I don't see why you have a problem with it. But like I said, I used to struggle with that too. No, I'm only singing for the Lord. And then, years down the road, it was like, I might need to change my view on that. Because what I noticed was when I did a couple of R&B tunes, the producer were like, you're different. There's something about you that's different. And so if you want to call it the anointing or whatever, that carries over into R&B, somebody might get touched by that. That's the way I look at it. But how do you... Well, first, we'll come back to you on that, Donyea. You go ahead, Michael, answer that question and then tie in the answer to the second question I'm asking. What role does your spirituality play in your creativity? And how do you deal with the...
Playing other genres?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's another word I want to use, but I can't think of.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, two things immediately. I mirror my brother Don's answer in that my story was after I finished in California, I was through with music. I wasn't playing no more. Like it was just too much pain. There was too much stuff going on. I made a stop through Carolina for a year, and we'll get to this in question number 7. I was going to plant me a church, and we had a couple Bible classes, but it just didn't come out. And so I auditioned for a church and didn't get the job, and I'm going like, what? How? And I had a little prideful moment. How you going to tell me that you gave a job to somebody else? Where do you get the gumption to say no to me, and I'm a national figure musician? And so wound up coming to Atlanta, and the long and short of it is the place where I am ministering now. The thing I love about them so much is they are committed to my personal comfort. We want you to be okay. And when I went in there, I'm like you, Don. I just went in there and said, I'm just going to play. I'm going to serve. Because I had a conversation with somebody about it. It's like, man, shoot, I'm so tired of music ministry. And they gave me a very peculiar answer. They says, why don't you embrace it this time and see where it goes? Instead of fighting it, just embrace it. And I did that. And, we've had some challenges. It's been a year. But it's like to have the entire staff and major leadership constantly telling you how much they appreciate you, constantly telling you how much they are committed to your well-being, constantly from the pastor on down. Man, whatever you need, we got you. And, and so to be in a place where you feel appreciated, I mean, just appreciated for what you bring to the table in terms of creativity and musicality is something. Now, to the other question, again, I've always loved jazz. And there was a point in my life I did not, as a solo artist, I didn't want to do gospel. I wanted to do jazz, right? And so the culprit here, no, I'm just playing.
Now I'm the culprit.
I decided, I'm going to go ahead and get this jazz record out. And I asked Tamara to co-produce it with me. And it did pretty good under the circumstances. Of course, we got this little private joke. Yeah, that one. When your co-producer says at the end of the record, yo, man, you got too many snaps in this joint.
Like every song has finger snaps in it. I'm like, dude.
It was a romantic record, so I figured that, and that's the joke that we have between. Now, here's an interesting story. Wait, before I say that, and I want to attest to what you said. There are times I have played in clubs with liquor and smoke everywhere, and somebody come up to me and say, you know what? There's something about the way you play. I knew what it was, but they didn't know what it was in terms of its terminology.
Right.
They knew what they were feeling. They just didn't know how to label it. Now I just say, hey, thank you, I appreciate that. Enjoy the rest of the show, and I just left it at that. But my brothers really liked my first record, right? So my oldest brother, who's been one of my major supporters, took the record home, and my mom was on her bed of affliction. She would be dead or passed away in a little while. My youngest sister called me and said, hey man, I just want to give you a heads up. I said, what? I said, Carl's playing the record for mom. I'm like, no, he's not.
But you gotta know how. Well, she wasn't strict, but she was staunch PAW, right?
No, my parents were staunch apostolic.
Yeah.
Staunch, right? We couldn't listen to nothing, but yet, well, no, let me not get this. Let me finish the story. So I called him and said, Carl, what are you doing, man? You trying to get me killed? He said, nah, baby, bro, I got you. So later he called me. I said, what did she say? My mother went through song after song after song. And this is when, man, when one guy, when we was doing all the programming and all that kind of stuff, and Tam was doing all the vocals. Is that him? Yeah. Wow. She listened to another song. Is that him too? Yeah, mama, that's Mike. Now, this is my mother, who we call Jesus the Secretary. Right? The next song she heard, she said, oh yeah, that's him. I know that sound. That's him. Then here's where it got scared. She said, what kind of music is it? And my brother didn't say jazz. He said, easy listening. We couldn't do jazz, but they was listening to Lawrence Welk like all the time. And them old easy listening elevator music station. They listen to that stuff all the time. So he changed it from what it was. And both of them, they loved the record. They loved my first record. So when I made peace with them about my creativity, I no longer felt convicted. Now, there's some stuff I won't play. If it gets too lyrically out there, like, you know what? Nah, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that.
So you're saying you have convictions?
I have some.
Limitations.
I have some limitations. There's some stuff I won't play. But the actual wording of the question, the spirituality playing my creativity, you know what? I'm gonna make a confession. I run into so many like blocks where I can't hear anything. I probably don't allow my spirituality in the creative process enough. You know what I mean? it's I love playing piano so much. So when I sit down, the first thing I want to do is practice my chops. But in terms of allowing the Holy Spirit just to start whispering melodies to me, and that's another thing I was going to ask you, Don. Seem like you're never dry. You are never empty. I mean, you put up a video, I'm like, how does he keep doing that? Like every day he's smashing. And when I read the question, I said, you know what? I'm probably not allowing the Lord in my creative process enough. And the creative process. Of course, he's in the performance process when I'm at church playing. But when I get to the lab where it's the same God that touches me at the church, needs to be the same God that touches me in the lab so I can go back to writing full production. And that's probably where I am. Not saying I'm a backslidden degenerate or nothing, but I just...
No, we get it.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? I don't think I'm allowing him in that process enough because the way I play, the way I've learned from Don, the way I've learned from Tam, there's no reason why I shouldn't be cranking out something almost daily. Mm-hmm. And I probably just need to allow the Lord, calm myself down, and yeah, I know, yep, that's the answer. And just let him speak to me musically.
Yeah. I used to have that problem until a prophetess came up to me during one high moment in service, and she put her hands on me, and she said, God told me to tell you to listen to his sound.
Wow.
Listen for his sound.
Wow.
It's like, I'm only going to give it to you. Listen for it. And I'm thinking, listen for it. I don't, what are you talking about? But that night, I was asleep, and it was so quiet in the house, and I literally heard string changes. And I got up immediately. It was like 4 or 5 in the morning, and I went straight. I beelined it to my studio room and started putting together what I remember I could hear. And my wife at the time had came in there, and she was like, what is that? And I'm like, I don't know. I just heard it. And she was like, that is crazy. I was like, yeah. But ever since then, I've made it a point to find silence and solitude where there's nothing happening. I'm just sitting in just dead quiet, and then I hear something.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Even them crazy slump joints you always doing to kill me every single time.
Yeah. Dude, it literally happens that way. It literally happens that way. Sometimes it happens that way. Sometimes it happens where I will be in the mall and I'll hear the elevator music, and I will hear certain changes. My memory will pick out a change from the elevator music, and I will come home and like play the chords and then flip it into something else, and once I got in the habit of listening for everything, like I'm always listening. I'm always listening, like I flipped something that my 4-year-old son did two weeks ago.
Wow.
And it sounded terrible when you hit play on his thing, but I heard changes,
Yeah.
So yeah.
That's awesome. What does your musical bucket list look like? Who would you like to work with in the future, if anybody? Not all at once, gentlemen.
Well, okay. See, and again, this is where church folk gonna frown.
Oh, we don't care about that. Go ahead.
Right now, if I could work with anybody, and I used to say this all the time, I would leave church and go straight to the airport if D'Angelo called me.
D'Angelo? Wow, I wasn't expecting
D'Angelo. Yeah.
If I could play with or for D'Angelo, it's something about him. He just hits me so hard. I'm like, yes, that's the
that. I
guy.
wasn't expecting that. Okay.
If I could play, just like one time, or sit in a room with him and just have a musical conversation, I'm a D'Angelo dude. I ain't even gonna lie, D'Angelo.
It's the only one.
Well, George Duke is gone, so
Yeah, gotcha.
But see, all my favorites now they're gone. Mm-hmm. They've already passed.
Mine and yours both.
Yeah, I mean,
Mine and yours
I've
both.
played for Andre Crouch. I've played
Yeah.
with the Hawkins, and that was a wonderful experience. Both Edwin and Walter.
Played with Stevie too one time, didn't you?
Well, no, we opened for Stevie.
opened for Stevie,
Yeah,
okay.
at the KJ, his radio station used to do this big Christmas thing, and so I wound up playing for the KJLH, which is his radio station in LA. I played for the choir, so that was cool. But I matter of fact, I'm glad you said it because I got to meet Greg Filling Gaines that night, and that was way cool. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, if not George Duke, then so far now, Marcus Miller, Stanley Clark,
Woo! Yes, Lord.
those dudes.
Yes, Lord. That's right up your alley.
Anything else would have to be movie oriented.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, George Duke, Marcus Miller, Stanley Clark, Victor Wooten, those guys.
Yeah.
You know, if James Brown was alive, he'd be him.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Minus all the meanness, though.
Yeah. George Clinton, I'll take him too. You know, what I have realized about me, there's a reason why I sound the way I sound, and a lot of it is attributed to the Funk Foundation. So, you know, that's kind of where my heart always ends up laying.
You know what? You got me thinking. Now, I don't know what she's doing now. I'm gonna give y'all a name. I can't get past her first record. I know she made a whole bunch more. If I could play One Time with Michelle and Biggie Ochoa,
yeah.
Yeah.
I can't get past Plantation Lullabies for nothing. That is the only record I have by her, and in my opinion, that is the only record she ever made. I love that record. Oh my God. Yeah.
So no gospel artists?
Mama Winans.
Okay. Oh, here you go. Old Commission.
Oh yeah.
Old Commission. The original Commission.
Yeah. For me, it's Marvin Winans, and that's it.
Yeah.
Sorry. It stops at Marvin Winans. I mean, I did Fred already.
Yeah.
I haven't done Kirk yet.
I wouldn't mind doing Fred.
Yeah, I did. I did Fred. I played for Marvin Sapp. I played for, you know, I've done quite a bit. I played for the iconic Tommies. I played for them.
Yes, you did.
You know, so all, you know, most of the cats. I think the only icon that I hadn't really played for, because I did Walt Whitman and the Soul Children back in the 90s.
Wow.
I did who else? DeWitt Jones, Forever Jones.
Wow.
You played for Forever
You
Jones?
did Forever Jones?
Yeah.
I love them. Oh
Wow.
my gosh.
Well, you know, DeWitt, they're all from Washington.
Yeah, they smashed when they first came out.
Yeah, they sure did.
They were very different.
Yeah. So, and all of their family smashes, not just them, writers, singers, and all that. So I've done a lot of the gospel stuff, and I think my thing, you know, and then on the second, I did Teddy Valley already.
Yeah.
You know, Blackstreet, Guy, I did all that.
Right.
Randy, Monica, I did all of that.
Yeah. I would love to do the old El DeBarge when he was with the Barge family.
Yeah.
That just was right.
I did Prince too. That was crazy.
I'm sorry, you did who?
Yeah. No, I did Prince. I played with Prince once. Yeah.
I'm just seated among greatness.
And you think you know a guy.
Yeah. We'll talk about that.
All right. Okay. Yeah, that's an offline conversation.
Yeah.
So my last question is, outside of music, what are some of your other skills and or hobbies that you display your creativity through? Like, I already know one off the bat for you, Donyea. You need to talk about it.
Yes, sir. You talking about what I think you're talking about?
Yes.
Talking about what? No. Say what?
I say what? Who
Some of your other creative hobbies or skills.
One of them you better say. I know one of them you better say.
And if he doesn't, I'll bring it up.
Thank
I cook.
That's
That's it.
That's the one. We have decided if anybody books minor tour on 3rd, the bus has to have a
Minor
kitchen.
3rd on tour.
Yeah.
Is that what you
But
meant?
The truth is,
That's what
the truth
you
is
said,
we
minor
all
tour
do.
on
We
3rd.
all really do. Because
Slow down.
cooking is almost the act of cooking and putting a recipe together is synonymous with music production.
I figured you would say that.
It's synonymous. It's synonymous. But the reason why we like it as creatives is because it is a physical manifestation that we get to taste of what we do musically. You know what I'm saying? So like we get to actually try things and we got to worry about nobody else eating it but us.
That part.
No, I do.
Yeah, you're
I got
right.
a whole household that I got to worry about if they like it or
right.
not.
I do. You're right, because I enjoy cooking. And that's why I said, let me try this again. If anybody books minor 3rd for a tour,
Very good. You got
thank you, madam. The bus has to have a kitchen, because me and Don's supposed to have a barbecue cook-off.
Yeah. We're gonna have to pull over for that one.
Yeah.
We're gonna pull over for that. I think that, and then I paint as well. I do landscape painting, and most of what creatives do as a passionate hobby is synonymous with what they naturally do musically.
Yeah.
Most of the time, it's something else creative, you know.
Yeah.
Like, and I find myself doing that. Like, even if I'm just sitting down playing with my son's toys with him, I'll start building something by myself. Like, I forgot we playtime. I'm sitting up here building the whole castle by myself.
Wow.
He's like, Daddy, it's mine.
Now he'll come right over here and kick that whole thing over.
That's not what we're supposed to be doing.
That is not what we're supposed to do.
Focus, Dad. Focus.
You know? Yeah.
I know she has for hobbies. I mean, I like to play. I got these new games on my phone, hunting and fishing games
Yes.
that I play, and a pool
Are
game.
those not the most relaxing games
Oh
ever?
man! Next thing I look up, I've been on there for an hour, man. It's just like, you know, my other life, I'm a sniper, so I just like shooting stuff.
Oh,
So it's like we hunt animals, and you get a certain amount of points for the biggest of the animals. And stuff.
Yeah.
But see, the other thing, it's not a hobby, but it is a skill. And I want to publicly blame and thank Tamara at the same time.
Why am I always the bad guy?
Because you always pushing me to do stuff. I'm 56 and I have been in ministry for 34 years. And I'm at a point now where I'm getting more passionate about it. And I'm teaching so much now, it's like 3 and 4 days a week. Stuff is from out of nowhere. Stuff is just like piling up. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And so, and again, it goes back to what you said. The analytical side of my brain that wants to understand how a piece of music goes is the same side that wants to understand what's in a biblical verse. Why is this here? You know, and sometimes I ask Don a question. Hey, Don, what's the formula for this, and this? And he'll go, well, man, you just got to feel it. Nope, I'm going to figure this out. I need to know how this got here and how you keep it going. And, it's just me being an analytical, and Don used to tell me, dude, if you study production the same way you study the Bible, you would be killer. So, I'm working on that now. But yeah, that is a major part of what I do. That displays my creativity, knowing what to say and how to say it. I study human language. I study spoken language. It's linguistics and semiotics, how things are supposed to be said.
Right.
So,
In other words, people, he's a nerd. Keep going.
I know you ain't calling me a nerd, miss.
That's a good thing, though.
Yeah, okay.
That's not a bad thing.
Yeah, okay. And so, so that's kind of, and see, Don is too. Don ain't saying it, because if you read Don's post, it's like, here he goes again. And I'd be like, dude, just quote the text and go for it. I'll play for you. Yeah, because Don, man, boy, some of them posts you put up, I'm going like, I don't know who aggravated him, but you asked for that smoke. You asked for that smoke. Yeah. So, that's just me. And I'm like, I love to cook. I do. I enjoy trying to see how I can make stuff taste. what would happen if I mix this spice with this spice? Should I grill it? Should I saute it? Should I bake it?
It's production, man.
Yeah.
Production.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
So before we end this podcast, I'd like for each of you to give your contact info, where you can be reached, and anything you're doing outside of minor third, which I will talk about that later. But Mike, go ahead. What's your contact info?
Well, the most basic way to get me is Facebook. I have my main page, Michael L. Loyd, and then there's my ministry page, Word in Season Ministries. And I'm also on Instagram, Michael Loyd 5. I think that's my name. And that's mostly, I post like musical stuff I'm doing musically. So, those are the three main ways you can get me. Main email address is drmike, Dr. Mike 464 at yahoo.com. If you want to drop me a line, or if you want me to do a piano track, I do lots and lots of piano tracks for people. For ministry contacts, it is Word in Season M, WORDINSEASON, and the letter M at gmail.com. That is for all ministry requests and engagements.
All right, Donyea.
My website is, sorry, that's my son in the back. He done came out of hiding.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
My website is DonyeaMusic.biz. B-I-Z. B as in boy, I-Z as in zebra. Yeah. DonyeaMusic.biz. That is my website. You go there, sign up to be emailed. You can find my Facebook information. Matter of fact, you go on the site and click the Facebook icon, it will take you to my Facebook. You click the YouTube icon, it will take you to my YouTube. You click the Instagram icon, it will take you to my Instagram. So all of my contact is lined up on my website. So you can go to my website at DonyeaMusic.biz. You can contact me for everything. Music production services, songwriting, engineering, mixing engineer, you name it.
Donyea Goodman has produced a line of the greatest drum plug-in you will ever hear. It's like, what, 5 of them now, bro?
It's actually like 9 or 10.
I'm sorry.
We're behind.
We're behind, sir. Yes. Please, everybody, please go to his website, DonyeaMusic.biz, and hit the shop, bro.
Online store.
Oh, online store. Y'all, I'm telling you, his drums are phenomenal.
What's the name of the brand?
Pure Drums.
I'm not asking y'all to support my brother. I am. But for your own sakes, if you want your drums to sound phenomenal, check out the Pure Drums line. Incredible.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen, for making my first podcast interview very easy. And I'm honored to be a part of this, what do I call it? Creative collective.
Yes.
Called Minor Third. We are a jazz band, and we're also a production company. So if you need our services, you can check us out at www.tvox Sound Records. That's TVOX Sound Records with an S.com. Also, if you have any questions about the show, if you want to be interviewed on my show, you can contact me at creativesand20@gmail.com. That's creatives with an S and the letter C 20@gmail.com. So until next time, stay safe, stay creative, and join the conversation.